Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another exciting episode, Shoot and Stiff Wrestling Podcast. I'm your co-host, one of the hosts. Yes, I'm Tamilian Viniz, the international superstar, and also I like to add one more title to my name, a controversial international superstar, an independent professional wrestler from Atlanta, Georgia, and this is my co-host, the one and only
SCW! What's happening? Great to be back for another episode of Shooting Stiff. We got JAY Garland on this week's episode.
JAY Garland, let me say something about this guy, this man right here. JAY Garland is from Phoenix, Arizona. He's the owner, he's the booker, he's the veteran, and he's the new champion of SCW. Jay, thank you so much for doing this. Thank you so much for taking your time and doing this. I appreciate it. Welcome to the show, brother.
Thanks for having me, and pleasure to get to chat with you as well, C-Dub. Thanks for having me on the show.
Oh yeah. You too, man.
Right before we start this podcast, I want to drop a good news here. So far on our YouTube page, we have 590 subscribers, and our audio platforms, we actually got 5 different platforms. That is Anchor.fm, Apple, Podcast One, Google Play, Spotify, and Amazon Prime. So it's always an honor to be on this platform. And thank you so much for the love and support from fans from all over the world. All right, Jay. All right. So we had this long ride from Phoenix to Prescott. So got a chance to listen to a lot of amazing stories. So let's start this. You decided that you wanted to be a professional wrestler, and where in the world you started?
All right. So, like everyone else, I started watching wrestling really young. I would watch the guys on TV, guys like Superfly, Jimmy Snuka, Bushwhackers were some of my favorite tags. Grew up watching it and falling in love with it over the years. There was a brief time where I didn't watch it because everything had moved to cable television, and we didn't have cable, unfortunately. But eventually, my uncle he showed me how to steal cable. So I started stealing cable probably age 15, and I started watching it all over again. About that time, the Wolfpack and, the Attitude Era, all of that stuff was going. So fast forward, I decided around that time that I wanted to be a professional wrestler. And I would say maybe a few years later, probably sometime in 2001, they started talking about WWE Tough Enough at the time. And I went online, I printed out my application and everything, had it all filled out, got my cousin to shoot my video. And just when I was about to send it, a really good friend of mine who also said he wanted to be a wrestler, he told me, he said, "Hey man, let's not go that route. I want to go the long route. I want to travel. I want to hit the road. I want to feel like we earn this." And so he talked me into actually going to Dory Funk Jr.'s school out in Ocala, Florida. So we went there back in November of 2001. And it's just so interesting how it all played out because we didn't go there with any expectations. We just went there because, hey, we want to learn to be professional wrestlers. We got in on Monday. We had an orientation. Dory told us to go back to our hotel rooms, watch Monday Night Raw, take some notes and everything, and then be ready for class the next day. So we start Tuesday morning. We had probably a 3 or 4 hour session. We took a break for lunch or whatnot, came back maybe a couple hours later, and then we had another 3 to 4 hour training session. We did that both days, Tuesday and Wednesday. And then Thursday, it was show night. It was for their TV show, and they put us in 3 different matches that night. So that's how it started. It started as pretty interesting. Of course, as you guys may know, when you start in this business, you have your first match. More than likely, you're gonna think you killed it. You did awesome, and that's how I felt. I mean, I got my tape from them. I was showing it off to everybody, bragging about being a professional wrestler. But as time went on and I continued my training, I realized real quick that I didn't know shit, man. Like, I had a long, long way to go. I was terrible. So it's like, yeah, I look at those matches from those days now, and I just laugh at them, and I'm like, somewhat disappointed, So I mean, that's how things started. That's how things started. There's been a lot of twists and turns throughout the years, but
So right off the bat during your first week of training, they was already putting you in a match.
Yes, sir.
And
So
3 matches in one night.
3 matches in one night. We did a Battle Royal match. My friend and I, we got to have a singles match. And then later on in the evening, we did a 6-man hardcore match. And I think that was kind of their way of testing us to see if we were going to come back, because the guy at the time who he was Dory's golden boy, a guy by the name of Adam Windsor. I think he recently passed this year. But he was getting looked at by WWE at the time. And man, that 6-man hardcore match, he came down to the ring and he beat the shit out of us, dude. He blasted guys with chairs. He hit me with a walker, like old folks use, or I shouldn't say old folks, someone with a disability of some sort. He hit me on my hip with this walker like 3 times, and you can see it on the tape. I'm screaming, no, like, yeah, he beat the shit out of us. But hey, I came right back. I came back a few more times after that.
You're talking about this individual right here?
Are you pulling him up right there?
Yeah.
Let me see.
Adam Windsor.
Adam Windsor, that's him. Yep. Nice guy. He was actually pretty cool. He was the one that helped me first do a moonsault. He kind of coached me through it. And the one thing that he said to me that helped me finally stick it when I got up there, he told me, he's like, man, you just got to believe. You got to believe. And I'm like, oh, okay. And did it. Yeah. And I started, using that as part of one of my moves for a little while. But
man, I could pull off a moonsault, but I still haven't attempted to go up top with it.
No,
not yet. Eventually I'll work my way into it. I know I at least can still do it. I don't have no business doing it, but I'll probably be like, I'm gonna do it once.
Yeah,
I'm gonna do it once and get it out the way. But yeah.
Whenever you need it.
Yeah, pull it out and be like, this the end and all be all right here if I land this for somebody.
Yeah.
So from there, Dory's school, how long you were there? And from there, how was your journey? How many promotions you got a chance to work? How many states you got a chance to travel? How many guys and girls that you traveled together?
Well, let's see. I mean, I've been doing it since that was November of 01. I think I did probably 3 or 4 more camps with Dory after that, between 2001 and 2004. Wow. And then actually in March of 2005, I started training with Impact Zone Wrestling here in Phoenix, under the tutelage of a guy by the name of the Navajo Warrior. A couple other guys that I trained with, one by the name of Big Jack Bull. He actually got signed that year. He went to, when WWE had Deep South Wrestling, he was under contract there at Deep South. Definitely learned a whole lot from those two. And then also a guy by the name of Triple X Lawrence Tyler, another wrestler from Phoenix. Trained under him as well. As far as states, Honestly, I think I've only wrestled in about 7 or 8 states. I'm lacking pretty hard there. You know, I have all this experience, but one thing that I noticed over the years, and I don't know what it's like for you guys or for anyone else out there, but one of the struggles that I went through was I'm sending footage, I'm sending resumes, I'm trying to get my name out there, and people either one don't want to use me because they claim they're only focusing on their local talent, or two, they don't want to pay me. And it was just one of those things like, okay, what do I do? I'm not going to not be paid if I'm driving 6 hours or so, however long that I'm trying to go to another state to wrestle, and a promoter doesn't want to pay. I don't really agree with that. It's one of those things where people will say, oh, well, if you're not traveling, you don't want it bad enough. But hey, if you work for free, then you're hurting the business. You're hurting everybody else.
Amen.
So which
Amen.
one is it? You see what I'm saying?
Amen to that. Absolutely. I can relate to that because during the pandemic, wrestling was pretty much like done. Only WWE was doing on television. And of course, AEW was there too. But independent wrestling scene was kind of like done. And I remember going to one of the promotions in Tennessee. And I saw two guys, they drove from Ohio to Tennessee to work shows for free, like 8 to 9 hours. And I was like, I understand you want to wrestle so bad, at the same time you're hurting the business. You're hurting other boys too. So Jay, I wanted to talk about your matches. So, man, 20 plus years. How many different types of matches you had that we watched on television? Like, you know, Brett and Sean, they did the Iron Man match. Then there's like submission match between Jericho and Benoit. Then 5 out of 5 falls match between Lesnar and Angle. So then steel cage matches. So how many different type of matches in your career that you had with?
So I've done a tag team ladder match. I've had a cage match. It was like a cage match / battle royal match. It was a lucha show. And it was funny because everybody's making their entrance one at a time, you know, through 1 or 2 minute increments or whatever. And then you have to climb through this little door in between the ropes to get into the cage. And then it's pinfall or submission, and then you leave the cage. So, but the coolest match that I've had, in my opinion, was I actually had a strap match with Michael Modest. This was for FSW in Vegas.
Las Vegas, yes.
There's maybe one video out there. I don't know. They pulled all the videos for some reason. I think because they have their own platform now.
Future Stars of Wrestling, is that Vegas?
Future Stars of Wrestling, yeah.
Yeah. So Mike Modest, obviously you guys are probably familiar with him from like Beyond the Mat.
Beyond the Mat, 1999 wrestling. It was there.
Seen him he popped up in WCW, and you know, I was like, man, I followed this guy's career for quite a while. And then next thing you know, I meet him in Vegas. He kind of takes a liking to me, and he starts cooking up ideas of ways that he wanted to try and get me over with their crowd. And so he kind of did it like a racist angle, where he came out. We were supposed to wrestle each other. He cut the promo and he says, "Oh, I know I'm supposed to wrestle Jay Garland tonight, but I'm not going to do that because I don't wrestle guys whose name begins with a T." And they're like, "What is he talking about?" He's like, "Yeah, Jay's real name is Toby Garland." He starts talking all kinds of smack, and we exchange back and forth, and then of course we do some attacks, back and forth. And then the next thing you know, he came up with this idea, and I'm telling you right now, listening to this guy and his ideas and everything, it was different from someone else who would typically want to do some sort of racial angle. It was like a fine line but he didn't cross it as much as that. It just, you know, it wasn't to make himself look good. It was actually to get me sympathy and to get me over, and it worked. So I definitely appreciated working with him. But he said, "Hey man, how do you feel about me attacking you and whipping you with my belt?" I'm like, "Do it." He's like, "Okay." And he's like, "All right, one more thing, just, you know, feel free to say no, but how would you feel if I wrap the belt around your neck, throw you over the
Wow.
top rope and hang you?" I'm like, "Bro, do it." And he showed me how to, you know, do the gimmick, and you know, he sent me over the ropes, and I'm sitting there hanging, and the fans are just like, "Oh my God," they were just completely stunned. And so the next day, because, you know, I took some pictures the night before. My back, I had a big old welt mark on my back, and I was like, posted on social media, "Mike Modest, this isn't over," or whatever. And literally the next day, I opened my eyes, and the first thing I said was strap match. And I texted him, I texted Joe DeFalco, I said, "Hey, can we do a strap match at the show?" And oh my God, they both were like, "Yes, absolutely, yes." And I borrowed a strap from Navajo Warrior, and that was that, man. We went there, Sam's Town. I can't remember the name of the show, but I still have some photos on my social media of him and I
That's really
locking horns in
awesome.
this strap match. And
Michael always had
he
the
put me
right.
over. And,
Yeah.
yeah, he's a good dude.
It's getting yourself.
Mike Modus have a really right mind for the business. I followed his career for a long time, and the interesting thing is, 15 minutes before we started this podcast, I was texting him and I sent him the link. He said he will check it out, and yeah, that was really funny. And his Pro Wrestling Noah times, I did follow him. He had some really good matches. And
Right.
he's always been a cool dude. He was always, and I'm really glad to hear that your experience with him in the ring was great. C-Dub.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
Please go ahead.
Sorry, C-Dub, but
Yeah, when getting yourself in a certain mindset for like a regular match versus a strap match, did you do anything different to like get yourself pumped up for what was about to happen?
honestly, no. Like I've seen a bunch of strap matches over the years.
Even last night on
like,
the pay-per-view, we had
kinda-
one.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't even
Karrion
catch
Cross
that.
versus Drew McIntyre.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's one of those things where, I mean, if you watched enough wrestling, you kind of get an idea of what type of mannerisms you want to have, and, you know, all of that stuff. Like right off the bat, when we're starting up, we're both kind of pulling at the strap, trying to get as much of that strap, and then he just yanks it in, and he gave me a clothesline, and fans were like, "Oh my God!" And yeah, it was great, man. We had a good time.
Does a strap from a strap match hit different than a strap from a belt?
110%, yes. Yes, especially when you know you're not wearing a shirt and you got sweat and everything. Yeah, it definitely feels different, and it makes a lot more noise. So
Is that the top of match? It's like a one and done, or would you be up for it if it call? I'm pretty sure you probably be up for another one if it calls for it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I would definitely do another one.
How many people ask you this question? I'm sure you get these kind of questions a lot. Is like, you know, the chairs are the wrestling chairs, the fake chairs, or the or the blood and things like that?
You know, honestly, it was a lot more. I think previous years there was a lot more of that going on. I feel like now that the business has been exposed so much and people have been peeking through the curtain for so long, that the shock and awe of it is kind of gone now. You know, either they're a wrestling fan and they like it, you know, they know it's a work, they still appreciate and enjoy it, or they're not a wrestling fan and they've written it off as fake. But hey, some of that stuff does hurt, you know, because they know somebody in the business who have told them, "Hey man, that stuff let me hit you with a chair. I'll show you what it feels like, you know?
Yes,
So,
sir.
I recently took a chair shot. It to the back, not to the head or anything, face, but yeah, it leaves a little sting there, a little sting.
I did took one here, one or two here, and back too. Ooh, not a great feeling in this world. Now, let me take you back. Which one was first, TNA Impact Zone, or was the WWE SmackDown first?
SmackDown was first.
Your match against the Big Show.
Oh, wait. The match against Big Show?
Yeah, was that a match against the Big Show first happened, or working for the WWE first happened? Then you did the TNA. Then you did the match with Big Show.
No, actually, I never did anything with TNA. For some reason, you know, I was way too focused on going to WWE. That was one of the things that hurt me in my run, was the fact that I was hell bent on going to WWE. It was WWE or go home. And if I was smart, I would have went for like TNA or some of the other promotions and could have increased my chances of getting picked up by them, you know. But it is what it is, you know. The Big Show match that actually took place in February of 2008.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I started doing extra work for them back in March of 2007. That was the first time that I was booked at a WWE event. I think it was Raw and SmackDown, and then there were several times where they come to town, Raw and SmackDown.
So you did met Chris Benoit.
Yes. Yeah, I met him actually probably a few months before it happened, which was it was an amazing feeling, like meeting this guy, because he's one of the ones that I studied for years. I mean, every single thing that he did, man, the intensity, the strikes, the selling, every single thing that he did was like fire, you know?
Yeah.
And I wanted to emulate some of that. I mean, obviously I had my other wrestlers that I studied as well, but if I was going for an intense athletic competition, that's the guy who I would, you know, look to the most.
What was the conversation?
I mean, he just came up in catering and he introduced himself as Chris. And I said, hi, Jay Garland, you know, and he smiled and I smiled. And I was just thinking to myself, holy shit, this is Chris Benoit, you know, like, it was pretty cool. I mean, I was a little taller than him, but he was definitely way more stockier, you know. So, I mean, it was pretty cool meeting him, though.
Wow. No, the match with Big Show. Sorry about like distracting you.
No, it's fine. Yeah, so the way how that worked out, as you may know, around that time, Big Show was going to be facing Floyd Mayweather at WrestleMania. This was his first match back in WWE after his hiatus and whatnot. And we're all hanging out backstage. Jamie Noble comes up. He grabs two guys. One of them was Joey Ryan. The other guy was this kid that I used to wrestle with by the name of Lionheart. He grabs both of them. He heads off to the ring. Everyone else is hanging out backstage. Everyone's talking, chit-chatting or whatnot. Moments later, Jamie Noble comes back. He says, I'll take you. I'll just take all of you. So then he starts walking again. And this dude he's gone, man. And he's gone. He's getting back down there to the ring. And I'm the only one trying to keep up with him. Everyone else is still like hanging off in the back, lollygagging. I get to the ring first. I see Joey Ryan standing in the ring. Big Show's in there. Arn Anderson is in there. And Arn invites me into the ring. He says, hey, come on up. I'm like, okay. Get in the ring. And then he's like, we're going to do something with Show tonight, blah, blah, blah. And I was like instantly thinking, oh my fucking God, I'm about to wrestle on SmackDown. I was like freaking out inside, but I'm like trying to stay calm, listen to what he's saying. They're walking through the match and saying, this is what we want to do. They came up with a spot where I was going to be on all fours and Show was going to run up and punt me in the gut. And they wanted me to fly from like center ring and crash into the ropes, like real ugly, like. And we practiced it a few times, and I did it, and they liked it. They liked it a lot. For some reason, they pulled it from the match, and so I feel like that would have been like my time to shine, because I hadn't seen anybody else do something like that. And they told me to do it, and I did it right the first time, and we did it a couple times. And yeah, so I'm a little sad that they pulled that part from the match. But yeah, we hung out backstage. We didn't even discuss anything after that because we had already walked through the match. So it's like just hanging out, counting down the time, looking at the little board and seeing who's on and all that stuff. And then next you know, we're in Gorilla, and Vince is in there, and Triple H and some other people are in there, and I'm just like, man, this is amazing. And we walk out to the ring, no music, obviously, because you know, they're getting ready to start SmackDown. We were the opening match on SmackDown, and I just remember standing in the ring, and I looked up, and all those fans and stuff, and I wasn't even nervous, not one bit, man. I was just like, I belong here, you know. Unfortunately, that it didn't quite work out in my favor, but that's one of those things that nobody can ever take from me. And that's what Big Show said as well, too, man. He's like, bro, congratulations. Like, this is huge. You know, this is one of those things where nobody can ever take this moment from you. Yeah, it's pretty cool, man.
Doesn't matter, 10 years, 20 years, or 50 years pass by. You go to YouTube and type Jay Garland versus the Big Show. It's right out there.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Do you remember, did they call you Jay Garland on SmackDown? Or did they call you by a different name?
Did they give me the what's one of the ones? I called one of my boys. He wrestled as Awesome Andy. He got to wrestle Kofi Kingston on like Superstars one time. They called him Rob Cabildo. So I put him in my phone now as Rob Cabildo. No, they called me by my name, Jay Garland. And that's another thing. Like, you know, my kids, they can pull that match up and they can see their dad and they can hear their last name. Like, that's pretty cool. You know, nobody can take that from me.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. What a great story. And then, so did any other companies approach you, like Ring of Honor, TNA, Impact Wrestling, NWA, or anything like that came across with your mind, okay, I should try, or you were just completely into WWE?
110% WWE, man. That's all I wanted. That's all I wanted. Like, and looking back, like having this conversation now, I kind of want to kick my own ass because I didn't try to go after some of those other places. You know, obviously everything happens for a reason. I think you and I, we when we had our trip to Prescott, I shared some stuff with you about the fact that I became a single dad in, you know,
family comes 2010.
First, I had this little girl that's dependent on me, and wrestling couldn't be my primary focus anymore, you know? So it's just the way that the cards were dealt. But yeah, I didn't really do anything outside of those. I did work for like some smaller NWA companies. You know, I worked for NWA Hollywood.
Yeah. Championship Wrestling from California. I think David Marcus.
Wrestling now. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, worked for him. Then, you know, IZW had merged with another company
in Phoenix, right?
We were part of the NWA for a brief time spell. So I got to hold the NWA Arizona Heavyweight Championship at one point, which was an honor, you know.
That's sweet. Yeah.
Yeah. So
any notable names you've wrestled as far as on the indies go that are in SCW that we should be like our listeners like would know? Also, like as far as the SCW goes, how would one go about watching matches for someone who doesn't live in that area?
Okay, so I'll start with that. We do have a YouTube page for Sonoran Championship Wrestling. We do. We have our Facebook platform, Instagram. I'm pretty sure we're on like all of the social media platforms at this point. I don't handle any of it. That's what Josh does. Unfortunately, he couldn't be with us, obviously, but
Josh, Jordan,
that's where,
partner. Yeah.
yes, that's where they can find us. As far as names, here in SCW, we've, I've brought out Carlito, TJP, and Zeta Zane. We're still looking to bring some more noble names to the company. As far as people that I've worked with, aside from Big Show and Mike Modest, I've worked with Shelton Benjamin, Chris Masters, Johnny the Bull Stamboli. Actually, here's a funny one. I got to wrestle the Rock and Roll Express in February of 2004 at Dory's. I had no business being in that match. Again, no business. This green kid wrestling these legends, but hey, they called the match. I listened to everything they said, and apparently they were fine with it. So
yeah, they're still wrestling.
yeah.
Supposedly their last tour, they've been going around wrestling at shows around Georgia and Tennessee and at least South North Carolina, probably even Florida. But they couple of guys I know were trained by Robert Gibson and Ricky Morton. So it's pretty cool how big the world is, yet so small at the same time.
Right.
So tell me, what is SCW and when it started? What year started?
So I started this thing probably in I want to say 2015 is when it started. It's one of those things where here in the state of Arizona, I saw the politics taking over as opposed to people just wrestling and loving wrestling for what it is. And I wanted to do something different. I wanted to build a company and based off of a drama-free locker room. Just a bunch of guys and girls who love this thing and want to have fun together and have a platform to showcase what they can do without somebody trying to go out of their way to sabotage their career. Because I dealt with a lot of that over the years here, primarily. And I'll even share it with you right now. There's a couple guys here in Arizona. They'll never say anything to my face, but they talk a lot of smack behind my back. And I'll name drop them too. Guys by the name of GQ Gallo and Dom the Bomb Vitale. They run a school out here.
Wow.
But those guys, I was reaching out to Joe DeFalco when I wanted to come and wrestle there, and he would do the same thing. Hey, we're just trying to use our guys that we got now. Oh, we don't have the budget and all this stuff. Well, fast forward, once they were no longer there, I got invited to come out, and he actually pulled me to the side and he said, I'm sorry that I blew you off. I couldn't bring you out. It's just I had those guys in my locker room and they were throwing dirt on your name, and I didn't want any drama in my locker room.
Grown ass men. Sounds like little punks,
exactly.
Little kids. It's the same situation, brother. Pretty much everywhere. Arizona, Georgia, it's all the same. And I believe I had a interaction with Joe, and again, I was in the area, and I reached out to him like a month or two prior to that. Right. I believe it was that time where Rocky and D'Lo were like partners. And I told him, like to get an opportunity if there's any spots available. And he said, yeah, you just let us know when you're in the area. Right. And I gave him my date and everything. And I reached out to him like a couple of days before the show and a couple of weeks before the show, actually. So he kind of like, he said like, yeah, but you can come here and I can try to put you in a battle royal or something, but, don't expect any pay. And I was like,
wow.
And I sent him my matches, my resumes and everything. I think that's how it is. Like, majority of the not every independent professional wrestling promoters are like this, but there's so many promoters that think that they're they're the indie Vince McMahon, even though the real Vince McMahon is awesome. It's the politics. Right. It's just blocking talents, and they book their friends, and they don't let anyone in. If you're not the part of the clique, then you're not going to get booked. Shit like that. It's everywhere. But instead of like complaining about it, you did something about it by creating your own promotion in 2015.
Right. And now what I'm dealing with is, oh, don't go wrestle for Jay. He don't pay anyone. So that's what I'm dealing with now.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's been like that since I started up. And I took a hiatus because I ran sporadically between 2015 beginning of 2019. There were like a string of shows that we did where we had probably a good 6 months worth of shows. We started seeing our fan base grow. Everything was going good. I ended up letting the wrong people into the locker room because eventually there started to be some drama, and I wasn't happy about it. And before you know it, there's people leaving. People can't wrestle for me anymore because they're loyal to another promoter, and he's gonna put the belt on me, so I can't wrestle for you. All right. And it was just I got to the point to where I'm thinking to myself, like, why am I hemorrhaging money, my hard-earned money?
Yeah.
I have a family. Unlike a lot of these guys who don't have anyone to go home to, who they're gonna die alone one day because they're miserable little pricks. But I have a family. I have a wife. I have kids. They rely on me. And here I am spending my hard-earned money to run this show, to give people a platform to feel unappreciated for everything that I'm doing. And so with that being said, I decided that I was going to leave in 2019. It was actually the day of the Rumble here in Phoenix. We ran Sunrise Showdown at the Deuce, and our sales pitch was, hey, you're going to be downtown for the Royal Rumble that day. This is like a tailgate show. You come and hang out with us and have, do a wrestling show, and then you can go on to the Rumble. And we actually pulled in a good 300 plus people.
Nice.
Which is pretty cool. I didn't see him, but I heard the actor, Chris Pratt was there. Yeah. So
was that Star-Lord?
Yeah.
Also the voice of the Mario in the new Mario movie coming out.
Oh, really?
Yep.
I didn't even know that.
Yep. Mario that has no booty. I seen
I
seen a picture of people like focusing on a cartoon character's booty and how big it's not. I'm like, what the heck? Yeah. But I'm still gonna watch it,
brother.
I'm still gonna watch it.
Yeah. So is it like animated?
Yeah, it's by the same studios that does the Minion movies. Yeah, the trailer dropped recently. Got a star-studded cast, like Jack Black plays the voice of Bowser.
Nice.
The dude that plays the king from the Kingdom on The Walking Dead, he's like the king. He's the King Penguin or whatever. So yeah.
Oh wow.
It's pretty cool. It looks pretty cool, regardless of how big Mario's booty is. I have an 8-year-old son. I showed him the trailer. He was tripping out. I think he went and watched the trailer like 2-3 more times.
Right.
Yeah.
So 2015, you started SCW to 2019. How pandemic affected your show?
Well, it didn't because so I left, like I said, in 2019. I was gone. I was completely done with wrestling. I wanted nothing to do with it after that. And then in January of 2020, I was invited over to the one of the promotions that was kind of my competition that I was running against, but they had a spot open for a trainer. They needed somebody to train their students on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And yeah, I went in there and started training these guys and girls, and that itch started to come back after a while, you know. But there was a brief time during 2020 where the school shut down and we weren't running classes, and then before you know it, we kind of started opening, hey, try to wear a mask if you can or whatever. But ultimately, everybody just decided, hey, either you want to be afraid of the pandemic or you want to train for wrestling. And I think most people started leaning more towards training. So I never was affected by the pandemic. Actually, I was going to mention just being on this Zoom reminds me of when I was working from home, you know, like we all working from home. I was with Chase at the time and I'd have to get on some Zoom meetings from time to time. But that was like, honestly, as bad as it was kind of a blessing in disguise because I was saving money, not having to leave the house and still being able to make money and everything. But it sucks that, you know, people had to get sick, and, you know, I've known some people that have died from it and everything. So, but yeah, since I've started back up, we haven't really suffered any major effects of the pandemic other than there's stuff still being, you know, still kind of expensive out there. You know, you're trying to run a show and you got all these expenses and you're still feeling the effect of the economy and whatnot. That's probably the only thing that it's affected long term, I would say.
C-Dub?
Yeah, I'll be rewinding back with this question that I got. We always tend to lead towards asking our guests any fun or interesting road stories would you'd like to share with our listeners about life on the Indies, or just traveling the roads, or even once when you got to like train at Dory Funk School, or got called up to be talent with SmackDown or WWE. You got any like interesting road stories you like to share with us?
I got a couple of them. I'll try and be quick because, man, as you can probably tell, I'm kind of long-winded. So there was a time we went to Dory's. My friend Anthony was with me, the guy that I told you talked me into going in the first place. And then he ended up quitting. This was the last time he went. But we almost got into a fight with an Elvis impersonator, which is funny because so we're at this hotel. It was like the historical Ritz in Ocala. And we're downstairs. We're trying to get some food and everything. Well, then this guy, my boy Anthony, and another friend, he wrestled as Kid Destiny over at Dory's. These guys both said they had to go use the bathroom. So they go into the bathroom. Apparently, there was just one toilet in there. So Kid Destiny grabs the toilet. He starts pissing there. And my boy Anthony, he decides to piss in the sink. Well, there was a group of guys, man. Mind you, we're all younger guys. We're probably between the ages of 18 to 20. There was probably about 5 of us. And then there's a group of these guys. There's maybe 6 or 7 of them. They're all older. They're all hammered drunk. Everybody's going to the bathroom all at once. Well, when they open the door, they see my boy pissing in the sink. And then they're like, they get pissed off about it. So they're like, hey, man, you know, what the fuck you pissing in the sink for? And they, you know, confront them about it, a big old argument and everything. And actually, one guy kind of like pushed him, and I got in front of him and like, you know, like, what's up, bitch? Like, we're ready to throw hands and what I was ready to throw hands. A lot of them were kind of backing off a little bit. But then the Elvis impersonator, you know, he's down there doing karaoke and everything. He comes in and he's like, what's going on here? And they're like, man, this guy's pissing in the sink. And my boy's like, I wasn't pissing in the sink. I wasn't pissing in the sink, you know? And so, long story short, Elvis is calming them down and being all nice to them, but then he's being a dick to us.
Yeah.
And then I got pissed, man. I started talking trash to him. Now I'm really furious, ready to beat the crap out of this dude, especially because he asked me, he's like, "Where you from, man?" I said, "Phoenix." "Why?" And he's like, "Man, I'm from LA or something." I was like, "Dude, I will whoop your Elvis impersonating ass, man." And yeah. So that was funny. He kind of he walked away after that, and then like the next morning we saw him downstairs, and he was being nicer. But yeah, that was a hilarious story.
That reminds me of the wrestler Santana Jackson, I believe, that dresses up as Michael Jackson, getting into it with somebody on the street. And
shit.
And he used his he's got background in MMA, I guess, and he used his MMA on him to like restrain him or whatever. It's a viral video, but that kind of reminds me of you running into an Elvis impersonator. Things could have been different. You never know. In my head, I just kept picturing that he was going hoo ha.
Right.
Something like that, and ready to throw hands, you know.
Man, man.
That went viral if back then. I mean, things going viral back then would have been a lot harder, but I know it would have made the papers. Elvis impersonator fighting guys who piss and sink.
Right.
Oh man.
Your friend's like, "No, I didn't. No, I didn't.
I didn't piss in the sink.
I didn't piss in the sink."
Stupid.
Man.
Yeah. I had one more. So there was a time where we went to Cali for NWA Hollywood. It was myself. I've known him for a long time. He's a good friend of mine. Call him my nephew, actually, but he wrestles as Sergio Vega. He hasn't wrestled in so we went to get something to eat at a spot he wanted to eat at this place called The Waffle. He's got his friend Ruben with us too. And we're all hanging out at The Waffle, and this guy really wanted to go there because they had bottomless mimosas. And so, yeah, right? So we're drinking some bottomless mimosas. We're just talking, just passing the time. And next thing you know, we're all like we're all kind of drunk. They were drunk. I was a little more tipsy. And we're like, what the fuck, man? How are we going to get home? And mind you, I got to work and I got a kid back home and all this stuff. And I'm just like, oh my God, man. Like I just started downing a whole bunch of water. And I'm driving like this. You know, wow. But hey, I got us home. It was crazy, and I was one of those things where I was like, man, never again. Like, you have to know your limits. You can't be getting sloshed, because hey, who's gonna drive us home? You know, if one of them would have took the wheel, we probably would have ended up in a wreck or something. But yeah, that was another interesting road story.
Since Josh, he couldn't participate in this podcast. So when did you met him? When did you become friends? And when you decided that you guys are going to be doing this SCW?
Actually, it was literally like a year ago now. So Josh, I don't know when he moved to Arizona necessarily. I know he's a wrestling fan, and he's wanted to run his own wrestling company. He was trying to get in with Impact Zone Wrestling. Mm-hmm. They're running again. It's under a different promoter. He's another one of those guys who think he's Vince. And so I guess he wasn't really getting an opportunity to do anything with them. I think they had him being the timekeeper. Mm-hmm. But he wanted to do more stuff behind the scenes, helping write the card, helping with social media, all of this stuff. And actually, Pete the Heat, my former tag partner, Pete.
Yeah.
Yeah, he said, bro, you should talk to this guy, Josh. Like, he wants to do all this stuff, and I think he would be a good asset to the company. And he introduced us. We started chatting, and next thing you know, I'm like, oh, here you go. You want to do something? And give him a whole bunch of stuff to do, and he's doing it. He's definitely exceeding my expectations. So at that point, I decided, all right, well, I know you want to run your own company, and it's not the under the name that you want it, but hey, man, why don't you become my partner? And he was all for it. So here we are, a year
Great
later.
dude, and very, very humble.
Yeah.
Do you watch the major wrestling network now these days, like WWE and All Elite Wrestling?
Honestly, I don't. And there's a reason for it. It's changed way too much. Like, I'm seeing a lot of the guys on network television starting to do what I like to call shitty indie spots, man. Like, how many times you gonna super kick a guy in the face?
Yeah.
That type of stuff, it grinds my gears, man.
Slapping
We talked about
Shawn Michaels' face 10 times.
yeah, right. Yeah, you shitting on HBK's finish, but then also look at guys like Chris Benoit and how they made this thing look like a fight, and now we're just playing ballet. Let's see who can do the most flips, and oh man, it drives me crazy. So yeah, I have to watch it in like small doses. Occasionally I'll turn on some SmackDown. I like watching like Roman Reigns. I like what they're doing with him and everything. Um, who else is someone that I don't mind tuning into? Actually, Gunther. I like his stuff, man. I see some of his stuff is like I wish it looked a little more crisp, but the dude is a phenomenal performer.
They had a lot of people calling it the match of the night, and they went on first last night. It was a 6-man tag between Imperial and versus the Pete, Butch, and Sheamus and his the other guy, and they just went out it. They just went at it hard the whole time. It was a great match.
I remember doing an extra work for SmackDown in Baton Rouge, and I saw him, and I got a chance to talk to him, and I told him, like, dude, you look so different. Like, you cut down the weight, and he looks like amazing, and your style is great. You're still protecting the business. You're doing your best, and that's really cool. And he said, thank you so much, man. I appreciate it. It means a lot. And again, man, like, like Chris Benoit came to you and talked to you, just like the same. Whenever I got a chance to go there and do this, most of the 99.9% of the people, guys and girls, they're super cool and nice and down to the earth. They talk to you like, you belong here. You're part of the family.
They didn't talk to you like Phil Brooks.
Look in my eye. What do you see?
Right. I gotta tell the story so C-Dub can hear. You heard it too. But one of the times that I was at SmackDown, I came up to the table. Everybody's in catering. I tried not to go to people if they're eating, if they have food in their hand and in their mouth. I try not to go up because I'm a germaphobe and I don't want anybody coming up shaking my hand when I'm eating.
Yeah.
So I see CM Punk, Deuce and Domino. They're all sitting at a table together, and actually, Deuce and I, we're pretty good friends now, Jimmy. But when I went up to these guys and I said, "Hey guys, my name's Jay Garland," and the response that I got was Deuce, Punk, Cliff, man, nice to meet you. And it's just funny, like you see these guys that they get on TV and they forget what it's like to be an indie performer, trying to make a name for yourself and trying to get a contract, chasing the same dream that they had. I don't understand that. So when you mentioned your interactions with Mr. Brooks, I was like, yeah, I can definitely relate to this dude being a complete asshole. Like, fuck that guy, man.
Trust me, like after that thing, a lot of I got a lot of comments and messages, and I was like, and people were like saying like you fucking jobber, how dare
Oh,
you?
yeah.
I was like, people are insane. People who never took a bump in the ring,
Right.
they're the doctors of pro wrestling now.
Right.
So
You know what?
yeah.
Maybe you can relate to this feeling when you go backstage to WWE. And I mean, I guarantee you, especially with AEW, but it's like you meet these guys and they're on TV, they're stars, right? But at the same time, they're basically just indie guys who got a break because they act just like indie guys. They interact just like indie guys. They're marks, like literally, like everybody else. And it's just like, wow, man. It just changes your perspective of the business once you've been there enough time. That's why I'm like, since I've been in a WWE ring, I refuse to go buy tickets to a WWE show. I can't do it. I don't understand how guys can get over that guardrail and into that ring and then go right back into that crowd. I can't do it, man.
Me neither. Never done it after that. No.
Yeah.
Because it's a feeling. I belong here. This is my place. It's that feeling, and you can't just go to the other side and just sit and watch as a fan. No, absolutely. And C-Dub.
Yeah. Do you, as far as running into legends in the locker room and on the road and such, has anybody's words of wisdom just that dropped some knowledge on you that stuck with you from the get-go that you would like to share with up and coming indie wrestlers or anybody, any of our listeners that are looking to get into businesses, like just stuck with you?
Absolutely. I can tell you exactly which one stuck with me the most. So after my first camp with Dory, my friend Anthony and I were sitting at the airport, Orlando airport. We're waiting for his cousins to pick us up because they were going to take us to Miami for a few days, and so we can visit and everything. And we're sitting there kind of dozing off like on my suitcase and everything, and he nudges me and he's like, "Hey man, look." He said, "That's Haku right there." And I'm looking, I'm like, man, that's not Haku. Like, he's got his hair, you used to seeing this guy for years with the crazy fro. He's got his hair all braided. He's got his sunglasses on. He's got his suit on. And he's like, that's him. Look, man. I'm like, oh, shit, that is Haku. And I was like, go talk to him. He's like, no, man, I'm scared. He's like, you go talk to him. I'm like, all right, you got some gum? He's like, here. He gave me a piece of gum. I chewed it real quick, spit it out. I went over to him and I said, excuse me, sir, are you Haku from the WWF? And he said, yes. And I'm like, oh, well, my name is Jay. That's my friend Anthony. I said, we just came back from Dory Funk's school of wrestling. And he's like, oh, yeah, that's good, man. Good place. And then I was like, I was just wondering if you had any advice for us. And he said, if you want it bad enough, go get it. And that just, man, still give me chills to this day because it's like, damn, man. So if you want it bad enough, go get it. And I wanted it bad enough. I chased it hard, but I made some bad decisions along the way as far as not going after like TNA and all these other promotions. I was too focused on, put all my eggs in one basket, And even when I was getting turned down by them, you got guys like Ty Bailey and Canyon Seaman, all these guys that I've dealt with over the years. I'm calling and emailing and texting, and they're like, hey, Jay, let me call you back. Hey, Jay, I'll talk to you. So, never give me the time of day.
Even people power.
Who you see? What are you talking about? Hey, you gotta look small compared to my guys. You gotta put on more size. How much do you weigh? Oh, wait 205. Yeah, you're gonna have to put on some more size. All right. Come back 215. Hey man, I want a job. Hey, I'm busy. I'm talking. Hey, motherfucker.
It's very similar because it's exactly what QT Marshall, the owner of Nightmare Factory and the producer, I don't know, producer of whatever, the vice president, whatever he goes by right now for AEW. That's what exactly
Right.
he told me. You got to gain some muscle. Then he pretty much said the same thing to a few of my buddies too. And we gained some muscles. We approached him. Well, I'll let you know.
Right.
It's
Yeah,
all
man.
kind of like, at the end of the day, it's just who do you know? And
Who you know or who you blow, man. That's how the cookie crumbles.
Yeah, even
It's crazy.
and I wouldn't say like you made a bad decision or anything like that, because you started a promotion. It started with independent professional wrestling promotion, but still you're giving opportunities to guys like me who live in Atlanta, Georgia. You gave me an opportunity to wrestle in your promotion. That means something. You're giving opportunities to more talents. Of course, WWE is there, AEW is there. I don't know for how long, but still is there. People are watching it. And we need more promotions. We need more promotions like SCW. You're telling a story. You're providing a platform to a lot of guys who can work. It's not just gymnastics, acrobats anymore. There's a lot of wrestling out there, and you're showing that.
Yeah, there's several guys that I'm actually working on getting out here. My thing, especially, and I don't know if I mentioned this to you, I want to build like a network of, I want to have like one or two different promotions in other states that I can kind of collaborate with. Hey man, send your guys out here. We'll send some guys out there, And it's just amazing how many guys, they want you to bring them out here. They want their guys to come out here, but they don't want to return the favor. So it's kind of difficult trying to navigate that and trying to find the right places and right companies to work with and whatnot. Which is why right now I'm more so focused on just building our brand. And we'll bring in some talent. But as we continue to grow and more people start to know the name, then maybe more people would be more open to some sort of partnership,
What are you looking into a pro wrestler when you're given that opportunity? Female or male? What are you looking at them like? Okay, what talent they need?
First thing I want to see is somebody who looks different. I don't like cookie cutter. If you come out and you look and wrestle just like your favorite wrestler on SmackDown, I'm probably not going to be interested in bringing you out. But if you look different, and especially like, I love having a melting pot of different people, different colors and shapes and sizes, as long as you can work, you go out there and you give it your all, you actually wrestle and sell and make this thing look like something, then I'm definitely interested. I'm not one of those people who takes one look at a guy and just write them off completely. One thing that I will, and I've had to be more understanding with a lot of other companies now that I know what it's like to run a show, is giving people giving them some, being patient with them basically, because I get like countless messages and emails, and I mean, everybody want to fly out, especially if you're going to pay for it. They want, hey, you're going to, hey, bro, can you pay me? Can you fly me out? Can you put me in a hotel or whatever the case, as long as they're getting paid to do what they love, then they want to come out here. And it's like, I want to give people an opportunity, but at the same time, it's like, we're still building. We're still in the building process. All the momentum that we had previously went away for a few years or whatnot. So it's kind of like we had to start from scratch. Even our Facebook page, I don't know if you've seen, there's an old SCW Facebook page. That one had over 1,000 people that liked it or whatnot. And then literally we had to start all over because I gave up the access to that page, and then the people who have it don't know how to give it back or whatever the case. So it's kind of just like dead in the water. Yeah. So, that's pretty much what I look for in a nutshell. Do you look different, or are you a replica of somebody on TV? Do you actually go out there and wrestle, or do you just go out there and hit spots? Do you know how to sell? Do you know how to tell a story? Ideally, when I look at someone's work, I can tell right away if this person is going to be a good fit. And if they are, I'm already coming up with ideas for them. So,
C-Dub, anything you want to add?
You got a upcoming show you like to plug? And how, like I said, how it will be available for those who can't see it. You've already touched base on that one, but I know you got an upcoming show because like I said earlier, I saw you cut a promo about defending the SCW Heavyweight Championship match and telling nobody not to bring his kids to the show because you leaving your kids at home. You got anything to say about that?
Yeah, so October 22nd, we're going to be returning to the place where we had our final show of 2019. We did Sunrise Showdown at the Deuce. This is going to be Sunrise Showdown at the Deuce Part 2. It's going to be kind of like our anniversary show since we have been running for another, we've been back a year. And yeah, I'm facing a guy by the name of Matt Capane. He's one of our big men on the roster. He's another one of those guys who in the previous run, I had invited him to come wrestle. And those same guys, same haters, were telling him, "Oh, don't go wrestle for Jay." So he had to politely, decline back then. And he was up front and told me about all of that and how those guys were putting stuff in his ear about me. And, it's one of those things where eventually the truth always comes out and those guys get what they got coming to them. So I'm not even stressing it. But yes, October 22nd is going to be him and I for the SCW title. And it's so funny. I'm going to just touch on this real quick because of the fact that my whole goal with running this show has been to give guys a platform. That's it. There's nothing. I'm not selfish. I don't want a pat on the head. I don't want people having to feel like they need to be loyal to me, which is why I don't mind my guys going and wrestling at other places. I don't guilt trip them or trash talk them because they decide to wrestle somewhere else. And actually, 3 of my guys just parted ways with me because they're pursuing other stuff. And Josh, as well as one of our other guys that we have on the team, felt that I would be the right guy to carry the belt, to kind of help try and build some of our other guys to take those spots, so to speak, And personally, I don't want to be carrying the championship. I don't want to be that guy who, he's the promoter, so he put the belt on himself. That's like the biggest thing that I wanted to avoid. But now that we're doing it, I'm going to do whatever I got to do to make it really mean something,
Oh, yeah. I mean, come on. Like, people will say all kind of things. Like Vince McMahon was the ECW champion. And Jeff Jarrett was the longest reigning NWA TNA champion. And I think
right.
I don't know. Maybe I will see Tony Khan as the AEW world champion someday.
Hey, you guys remember? I'm sorry. I was going to say, you mentioned Jeff Jarrett. There was a time where Jarrett was on TV. He's standing there. He's got the belt on his shoulder. And the fans were yelling at him, "Drop the title. Drop the title." And he's just looking around. He dropped the title. He dropped it right on the mat. He dropped it right on the mat to take it back.
Oh, man. That's crazy. God, yeah. So I was just sharing the poster here. So it's going to be October 22nd, Sunrise Showdown at the Deuce, 525 South Central Avenue, Phoenix, Arizona. And ticket rates are VIP tickets are available $25, general admission $20, family for $4, $60. So I believe the VIP tickets actually comes with an opportunity to talk and take pictures with the talents, the stars, and get a closer seat next to the ring. Correct?
Correct.
All right. So that's the poster. And C-Dub, anything you want to add it?
Oh no, man. I don't got nothing else to add. A nice little poster, very colorful. I dig the color scheme. Make me wish I can come to the show. Maybe Benish got a big travel bag or something he can put me in.
Right. Yeah.
Hopefully one day I'll get to where I'm getting called up for bookings in other states. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm out there. I'm a constant plugger. I'll be content creator. I just put stuff out there all the time.
If everything goes well, we probably will see Jay and some of his boys in Georgia. So we're really working on something. But I don't want to say anything right now. So let's say it when everything is finalized. But Jay, thank you so much for giving us this time, giving this opportunity to learn more about your live wrestling career, that lifestyle, going to South, going to Florida, training with Dory in his dojo, and participating in WWE SmackDown, and with that historic match with Big Show. Then your friendships, your road trips, and this is completely kind of like a really good roller coaster wrestling podcast so far, and I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Man. Thank you, fellas, for having me on.
And ladies and gentlemen, to the listeners out there, for the audio version of this podcast, it's available on anchor.fm. It's available on Podcast One, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Google Play. Thank you so much for your support and love. This is Chameleon Vinish, along with one more amazing episode of Shoot and Stiff Wrestling Podcast, episode 5 with Jay Garland.